God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light."
And we are back. I tell you what, man, I sure missed being here last week. But as you guys know, I told you we were headed back to our hometown in around the Seattle area in Washington. So I was gone for a week. So we missed last Tuesday night Bible study and last Wednesday Worship Wednesday. But we are back at it tonight. So we are going to pick up our story of the second part of Noah and the flood. This is where all the water shows up and all the weird stuff starts to happen. So tonight I am excited to get started. I can't wait to jump in. But first, I'm going to ask you to join me in a word of prayer as we get this thing kicked off tonight. So let's pray. Lord, thank you for tonight. Thank you that we again have an opportunity to hang out. I pray that we get something out of the book of Genesis tonight, maybe something that we didn't know, maybe something that we didn't realize. But more than anything, I pray that you draw us closer to you and, as always, closer to each other. So I pray that tonight we would take the next few minutes that we have together, and God, we would bask in your presence, that you would lead us and guide us through the study. And God, we would enjoy each other's company and continue to build this community of faith online. So I thank you for this time in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys, if you are here, do me a favor, throw something up in the comment section. Let me know that you have arrived. I'll be over there in just a second to check that out and to see what's going on. But if you're here, throw something up there. I'll be happy to and glad to hear that you have arrived. Oh, my goodness. So this last week was crazy. We flew out of town directly after church on Sunday. Got done doing music, got done preaching, and basically did a couple little housekeeping things around the building, and then ran out to the house quick, grabbed our suitcases, headed off to the airport, where I had a little run-in with the TSA. I want to tell you about that today on my as we open this thing up this morning. And first of all, I want to tell you that I am happy that the TSA are doing their job. But let me tell you what I did. Now, for a long time, I've carried a pocket knife in my front pocket because I'm constantly opening up packages, UPS stuff, Amazon stuff multiple times a week. So it doesn't matter. I always have a knife on me to cut cables or I just always have a knife in my front pocket. Didn't think about it. And it was still in my front pocket when we got to the airport, just pocket knife. And so we get through the security screening, not quite to the TSA where they actually have you take off your shoes and stuff yet, but to the part where you have to show your ID and show your boarding pass. We got all checked in, got my guitar checked in because I'm doing music in Seattle. So that's on its way. Everything is checked in. Then we get through to the TSA line. And, you wait, you play the waiting game for like 45 minutes, moving along like a cow through the little maze there of people. And you finally get up there, and the TSA guy is just doing his job. He's like, all right, take off your shoes and your belt. So I took off my shoes, threw them in the thing, went to pull my belt off, and went, oh, crap, I completely forgot I have a pocket knife. So I pulled out my pocket knife. It wasn't exposed or anything. It was just closed up. I said, listen, man, got a ride to the airport. Didn't even think about this. This was in my front pocket. I'm sure that you're going to want to see it. And he goes, yeah. So I handed it to him. So he took it, and he goes, well, I have to see you at the other end of the line. So you get all your stuff out, you put it in the little trays, and the trays go down the line, and then you go through the screening, put your hands up like you're getting robbed, and the little thing goes around and zaps your whole body to make sure you're not doing anything weird. So you get through that scanner, and I get to the other end, and everyone's grabbing their stuff and leaving. And all of a sudden, the 3 TSA people come up to me and go, we need to see you. Okay, fine. So I walk over there, and they go, we need your driver's license and your boarding pass. Okay, so I hand them my driver's license and my boarding pass. So they take me to the TSA detention area. So now I'm being detained by the TSA because I had a pocket knife in my pocket. And I said, okay, so what are we doing here? And he goes, well, we have to recheck all your bags, Just a formality, make sure there's nothing weird going on. I said, fine, whatever. They did it. They re-patted me down, checked all my pockets and everything, fine, no problem. And then I was like, all right, it's been like 15 minutes, now what? And they said, well, you're going to have to wait because we're waiting for the Chicago Police Department to show up because they now have to run your information and check you for warrants, and then we can release you. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm waiting. Now, pretty soon, the Chicago Police Department shows up. Guy comes in, gives me the pat down, looks at my ID, asks me a couple of questions, and he goes, you got any warrants? I just laughed at him. I said, listen, man, I said, I'm a pastor of a church. So if I've got warrants, I have much bigger problems than this pocket knife and you. He laughed. He thought it was funny. Of course, it came back, no warrants. And he gave me my ID back and my boarding pass. And he said, hey, sorry about that, but we have to be vigilant. You never know. I said, all right, cool. It's cool. I don't really even care. And they're like, we're going to have to keep your weapon, pocket knife, right? I said, that's fine, whatever. Hold on to it. I got to catch a plane. So anyway, get on the plane. Now, I want to tell you something before we get into our study tonight. Some people will be really offended by that. Like a lot of my friends were like, oh, how dare they do that? God bless you for taking up for me. But let me tell you something. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad that, here's why. What if it was somebody else who had something else in mind? What if it wasn't a pastor of a church that meant no harm? What if it was somebody that intended to do harm? I want them doing their job. So I commend them. I'm not mad at them one bit. So anyway, we're in Seattle. We're there for a week with family. We're seeing, as many people as we can get around to. Of course, we didn't see everybody. And then I play a worship concert on Thursday night. That goes great. We get back in the plane on Saturday. I get home. I find out I have a letter waiting for me at home from Homeland Security. So the Homeland Security letter says that that they've decided not to impose a civil penalty, which means a fine. It's money. Because of what happened, they've decided they're not going to impose a civil fine, a penalty. But if I do it again, they're going to give me a civil penalty, which is a fine. And they said, and right now, I'm disqualified for the pre-boarding process, meaning I can't just pay the $50 and then never get checked, because you can do that. I don't know if you know that, but there's a pre-screening, pre-boarding process. If you pay $50 to $100 a year, you can basically bypass all that, take off your shoes stuff and take off your belt and go straight through. I've never done it, so I'm not really missing out on anything, but at least for now, I can't do that because I'm disqualified from it because I tried to come through the TSA with a pocket knife. So there you go. There's my tale of woe for the week that I was gone. Again, I don't mean anything bad to the TSA. I have friends that actually work for them. I know a guy that retired from there. I'm glad they did their job. So, I'm not going to beat them up. Does it stink? Yeah, but I'm glad they did it because, again, if it was in somebody else that had bad intentions, I would want them to catch that person. So the fact that I was a ding-dong and forgot to take my pocket knife out of my pocket, that's on me. That's not on them. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. So here we are tonight. Let me jump over to the comment section and see what's happening. There's my tale of woe for being detained by the TSA and getting a letter from Homeland Security. All right, all in the same day. Awesome. All right, what do we got here? Gino and Tammy, hello. Good to see you guys. Hope treatment is going great. Faith and Grant, good to see you guys. My favorite Fisher people. What's up, Brenda? Hope you and Harvey are doing great. Big Frank, my muscle man. Gosh, how you doing, brother? Always good to see you on here. Harvey, Frog Legs Ferguson. All right, buddy. Good to see you, man. Penny, happy Tuesday. Good to see you as well. What else is going on here? George Carroll, good Tuesday evening. Yes, good to see you and Darla. I hope that your pups are watching. They have great dogs. Deb, hello from Marie and I. Hello to Marie and Deb. Good to see you guys. What's up, Pat Baker? Glad to see that you're up here visiting from Memphis, Tennessee. What's up, Judy? Glad that you're here. Lauren, good to see you, sweetheart. Glad you're with us as always. What's up, Frida? It's always good to see you. What's up, John? Sorry you're running late. Hey, no worries, man. No worries at all. You guys are always welcome here. And Darla, there's a little picture of that sweetheart of a pup. Love it. And George, they probably ran you for warrants because of the type of knife it was. Yeah, probably. By the way, George, if you have another one I can get from you, that would be awesome. I'll just leave it at that. All right, guys. Oh, it looks like Minnie Pearl slipped in there at the last minute. What's up? Glad to see you, Tammy. Glad you're with us. I don't know where Dr. Bruce is. Hope he pops on here pretty quick. Anyway, guys, we are in Genesis chapter 7 and 8. We are part 2 of Noah's flood. So I have three questions tonight. They have to do with what's happening on the ark, because now we're on the ark. Remember the last time we were together, God told Noah to build this great big boat. Noah built this ship, this ark. He was a preacher of righteousness. For 120 years, it took him to build the ark, preach righteousness, preach the coming destruction. No one listened, no one cared. And then we found out that God brought all these animals. He's bringing all these animals to him. He's going to bring, you're going to see tonight, he's going to bring 2 by 2, right? You're going to see 2, and then you're going to see pairs or groups of 7 instead of 2. That'll be happening tonight as well. But all these animals are coming on the ark. Noah and his family are getting on the ark, and God's going to shut them in, and the flood's going to start tonight. So that's where we're at. All right. Who else popped in here? Somebody just popped in. What's up, Janelle? Good to see you. Glad you and John made it. It's always good to have you guys. All right. So that's where we're going to be. So first question tonight is this. In fact, I didn't get them typed in. I have them written down on my phone. So let me just throw these out there for you. Give me just a second here. All right. All right. First question tonight. I'm going to actually write this. It'll only take me a second. I apologize for my lack of preparedness. Okay. First question is sorry about the typos. That made no sense to anyone else. All right, here we go. I apologize already if there's typos. It just was fast. All right. I'm asking this question because God told Noah, you need to build an ark. It's the biggest thing you've ever seen. It's going to hold like a ton of animals and food and provisions for a long, long time because I'm bringing a flood. You're building this giant ship that's going to be the size of a skyscraper laying on its side. And it made no sense to anyone. But Noah did it because God told him to do it. So my question for you tonight, my first question is this. Tell about something that you felt inside that you had to do, but it didn't make sense to anybody else. It can be something that you feel that God has prompted you to do, or it can just be something that you naturally felt like you needed to do for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your job, whatever. But something you felt that you needed to do, whether it was from God or from anywhere else, and it made no sense to anybody else. So that's going to be my question. I know it's a little weird. It's a strange kind of a question, but I just want to tell you that God is not somebody that you can put into a box that always does what you think. Sometimes he will ask you to do things that don't make sense to other people. And it may not even make sense to you. So the question, I made it easier. I didn't ask you, what did God tell you to do? That everybody thinks you're nuts. And do that. You can share that if you would like. But this is a more broad question. Tell about something, anything you felt that you had to do, even though it didn't make sense to other people. That's my first question tonight, because sometimes we'll do things and we don't realize how strange it sounds to other people. Because sometimes we ourselves are like, what? Lord, you want me to do what? But imagine what that sounds like to other people. If you think it's weird, imagine what other people think. So again, tell us something you felt that you had to do that made no sense to anyone else. Just like Noah, build an ark. What? I'm going to send rain. What? What's rain? I'm going to flood the earth. What does that mean? Why would you do that? Wait, a flood? An ark? What? And everyone laughed at him. No one cared. It made no sense to anybody. So what's something that you felt you had to do that made no sense to anyone else? And while you're answering that, I'm going to go to the Bible here. Give me just a second. Oops. I haven't done this for a couple weeks. Share screen. There we go. I almost forgot what I was doing here. Good Lord Almighty. What is wrong with me? Lots of stuff. All right. Okay. Here's where we left. I'm just going to give you a refresher. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day, all of the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. That's basically where we left it. I think I might have went a little bit further, but that's the rough idea of where we left it 2 weeks ago. Verse 13 says that on that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. Look at this. They had with them every wild animal according to his kind, all lost livestock according to their kinds, every creature that moves on the ground according to his kind, and every bird according to his kind, and everything with wings. Pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them came to Noah, and they entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. Noah didn't shut the door. God did. Noah didn't bolt down the hatches. God did. God shut the door of the ark, which explains to me, if it's shut supernaturally, this explains to me how a door that must have been enormous didn't leak while they were on the ark, because God shut the door. So, with that being said, this has got to be a great, great leap of faith. God said, do this, and he did it. God said that all these creatures are going to come to you on their own, and they did. That's weird, right? That's strange, and it made no sense to anybody else. Okay. For 40 days, verse 17, the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. Verse 18, the waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. That's a huge flood. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits. It's about 22, 23 feet. The whole purpose of that is that if the ark goes floating over a giant mountain, it won't hit like the mountain. It won't bottom out. It won't ground out. The verse 21 says, every living thing that moved on land perished. The birds, the livestock, wild animals, and all the creatures that swarm on the earth, and all of mankind. Look at that. Everybody died. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. People and animals and creatures that moved along the ground and the birds were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. And the end of chapter 7 says, the waters flooded the earth for 150 days. That's a long, long time. That's like 5.5 months, something like that. So we go to Genesis chapter 8. Now, before I get to this, I got to follow up on these questions because it's very important. Now, the question was, tell something that you felt you had to do that didn't make sense to anyone else. Let me see what people are saying. Oh, Bruce showed up. Good. I was on YouTube and can't talk to her. Well, I'm glad that you're here, man. Glad you showed up. All right. Frank. Okay, Frank says he had to turn down a few jobs recently. I totally get that. See, that makes sense to you because you're the one doing it. But sometimes things like that just don't make sense to other people. So I'm glad that you caught that. I'm glad you caught it. All right, man. Let's see what else is going on. Gino and Tammy. Gino says, me changing lines of work. I can't say more than that. I understand. I know exactly what that is. Tammy, what did she do that didn't make sense to other people? Not entering a county gardening contest for the 4th year in a row. I think she won like the gold ribbon or whatever, the blue ribbon, first prize, 3 years in a row down in Georgia. So yeah, I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised she didn't do it for the 4th year. Okay. Faith, practicing catch and release. Oh my gosh. I got to tell you something. Faith and Grant, love these two people. For those that are watching, Grant's on our worship team. Faith is part of our women's ministry and she helps out with all the big events and stuff at the church, and love these two people. I really do. And I always say they're my favorite Fisher people. They got me a t-shirt. I'm not wearing it tonight, but it's got a fisherman on the front of it. I really like it. And we share a passion about fishing. I love to fish, and they do too. And I'll never forget when he told me about when he hooked into a bass, about a 3 or 4 pound bass over here in one of the ponds, local ponds by our houses. He's only a couple blocks away from me and in a different part of the development of the subdivision, just half mile away. And there's ponds all through here. And he told me one time that he saw these big bass swimming around one of the ponds. So he just pulled out his pole, threw it in, couple casts, pop, got himself like a big, 3-4 pound, big largemouth bass. And I'm thinking, fry that sucker up and call me. So I said, I'm like, so then what? And he's like, well, I threw it back. And then he just goes, and then we went on. And I go, whoa, 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 stop. What? You what? You threw it back? Yeah. So I'm one of those weirdos. Like if I catch something, I eat it. I don't, unless it's like little, I don't throw it back. If it's of like legal size, baby, that's coming home with me and I'm eating it. So yeah, that's funny. I get that. All right. Brenda, it didn't make sense to most people when I agreed to be Danny's medical advocate when he was dying. That's, for those you don't understand, her husband, Ron, who passed away. Danny was his brother. But my answer was when he brings you to it, he'll bring you through it. There you go. I remember when God called you to do that. Bruce says he picked up an antique truck that was a terrible wreck, sold it for a lot of money. All right. That's called flipping, baby. That's flipping cars. Dig that. George Carroll, long story short, I quit my job at the power company to build a tiny ark. That's right. Yeah, he built that the Father's Day. I think I've told you guys before that like the smallest boat, what George, tell us how big it is again. And we've showed pictures before. It's like smaller than my dining room table, and it went across the North Atlantic Ocean. Penny, I have learned that when God gives you the prompting, it's our job just to obey. Yeah, agreed. Lauren says, give money to someone in my Christian support group who is in need. Very, very good. Yeah, be careful. But if you know what, if God tells you to do something, you've used wisdom and discernment, and you're sure that's Him telling you to do it, then you do what God calls you to do, and then it's up to them, that person, whether or not they're honest about it. Tammy says, I felt so strongly I had to give an angel food cake to somebody, no clue who. Carried that cake 3 days till I knew it was for a random man who just passed in my car. I gave him the cake, and he was in tears, saying his wife was homesick from chemo. Oh my gosh. All that would stay down was angel food. Oh, and she sent him to buy one since she ate the last piece of hers for breakfast. Wow, that's divine intervention right there. That's pretty heavy. Penny says it was hard, very hard for my non-believing family to understand when we moved to the Midwest. Yeah, I get that. We're here. I don't know one person that lives here that loves the taxes and the culture here, but whatever. All right, Frida, I was at the dentist's office and an older gentleman couldn't pay for his teeth cleaning. God told me to pay for his cleaning. Took me a couple of times of God telling me to pay, so finally I went up and paid for his cleaning. I knew it was God telling me. Good for you. By the way, my next dentist appointment, I'll give you a call. That's pretty awesome. Brenda, deciding to go to college for the first time at 65 years old made little sense to a lot of people. Yeah, but that was great listening to you talk about homework in college and stuff. Harvey, didn't make sense to my family when I moved from Memphis to Savannah, Georgia. Beautiful city, but it was for my job. Yep, I got you. Memphis, though, man, Beale Street. Lots of good music there. Lots of good ribs there. But Savannah, Georgia, they got some good food there. Deborah, when I give money to the homeless, yep, people will always question when you do things like that. They will always question it. But you know what? God told you to do it. You do it. Brenda, catch and release makes no sense. Nothing like a good fish fry. Oh, that's funny. George, 5'4" long. Okay, that's how big the boat was that he made that crossed the North Atlantic Ocean. It's called Father's Day. Very, very cool. All right, good. All right, Janelle says, I walked away from the condo my dad got to help me when my first husband decided living in an apartment on top of I-5 would be easier on his ego. Wow, that's tough. I wouldn't want to live on top of I-5 for nothing. I was just there just last week. Harvey, Savannah has real good frog legs too. Oh, of course. That's why I call you frog legs. Harvey's favorite food, at least one of his favorites, is frog legs. He took me out for frog legs one time. Him and Brenda, they gave me a call. And I don't remember what the occasion was. I don't know if it was my birthday or pastor's something. Who knows? But all I know is that we ended up going, and Harvey got me a whole mess of frog legs. They were good. They were really good. All right. Let me get rid of that question. Now, let me really quick go back to the Bible here. All right. Now, this is something that I'm going to be asking you about in a minute, but watch this. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock that were with him on the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Wow. So after 150 days, the waters receded. Now, listen, I got to tell you something. Some people don't understand. I've had people say before when I've taught through this, how can that be possible for like the earth to be underwater for 4.5 to 5 months, and then it all of a sudden brings forth grass and trees and shrubs and everything else again? It doesn't make any sense to me. But I want to tell you something. It happens all the time, depending on where you're at. Where I'm from, in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm from, there's a small town called Snohomish. I kind of grew up in that area before I moved to Whidbey Island, which is where little kid Snohomish area, and then in my around 8-10 years old, all the way through my teenage years till I was an adult, I lived on Whidbey Island. But so anyway, this little town called Snohomish, that's where most of our family lives. The valley there, the Snohomish Valley, floods every year. And there were years where it was underwater for 3 or 4 months at a time. In fact, I want you to check this out. I have a 35-second video clip I want to show you of the valley I'm talking about. This is a town called Snohomish, where basically I'm from. And I want you to check out this short 35-second video clip of how the farm fields, they're underwater for months, and I mean months at a time. And then they bring the biggest harvest of stuff you've ever seen, like the following harvest season. So it does happen. Check this out. See, did you catch that? Those are farm fields underwater. And for a few years, it happens every couple of years, that whole thing floods like that. And sometimes that's underwater for months at a time. And then it brings a huge harvest. So here's my next question. I want you guys this should be kind of fun. All right, there we go. Okay, I got to learn how to spell. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, here's my question, because Noah's Ark has a whole bunch of animals on it, right? So I just want to ask you this question. If you could be any animal, what would you be, and why would you be that animal? I'll give you an example of myself. If you could be any animal in the world, forget about the fact that you're going to be stuck in an ark for a while. Forget that part. If you could be any animal in the world, what would it be? And I know a lot of you are like, what? I don't want to be an animal. That doesn't sound good at all. Use your imagination. If you had to pick an animal, let's say you didn't have a choice, you had to be an animal, what would you pick, and why would you pick it? I'll tell you what I would be. Especially if I was going to be on the ark for up to a year or whatever. If I was going to be a Noah's Ark, I would want to be a hippopotamus. I'm going to tell you why. I would want to be a hippopotamus because all they do is eat and sleep. That's it. So if I was going to be on the ark for like 10 months or a year or whatever, if I was going to be in those situations like that, imagine for a minute if you're going to be stuck somewhere in a like something the size of a prison cell. Not to say the ark was a prison. That's not what I mean at all. But I've been to the one in Kentucky, and they're cages, and they're nice, but you're stuck there for the whole time. So for me, I would want to sleep through it. So I would want to be a hippopotamus. That way I could just wake up and blah, 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 and eat and go to sleep. And I would sleep most of the journey. I would sleep most of the time. So if you could be any animal, like you had to pick one. And I know some of you are not animal people. Some of you are like, oh, that's beneath me. I'm a human. I get it. Play along, because it's Noah's Ark. If you could be or had to be any animal, what animal would you be, and why would you be that animal? That's my question. And I think it'll be very interesting to see what people come up with for this particular one, because I want to know what the reasons are. You can't just say, well, I want to be a dog or I want to be a cat. Okay, great. but why? That's the question. If you could be any animal that you wanted to be, tell me what it is, and then tell me why you would be that animal. Let me go back over to the comment section. Okay. All right. Oh, Brenda's talking about when they took me for frog legs. There was no occasion, just an act of kindness to one of our favorite pastors. Oh, you were so sweet. Yeah, Brenda and Harvey took me for frog legs. All right. So if you had to be an animal, what would you be and why? Let's see what people are saying. Wow, Brenda wrote me a book. A female bear. When you're a bear, you get to hibernate. I like that. You do nothing but sleep for 6 months. I like that. And she says I could deal with that. Before you hibernate, you get to eat yourself stupid. I could deal with that too. When you're a girl bear, you birth your children who are the size of walnuts while you are sleeping and wake to a partially grown, cute, cuddly cubs. I could definitely deal with that. If you're a mama bear, everybody knows you mean business. You swat anyone who bothers your cubs. If your cubs get, I'm assuming, out of hand or something. Very, very good. Now it makes sense. A female bear. Why? Because you eat and sleep, like what I just said. I like that. Very, very cool. All right. Frank says, I would be a bird so I can fly everywhere. Very cool. I dig that. Bruce, he would be a panther. A stately animal and my favorite color. Ooh, I love black also. Almost everything I have is, my car is black. Yeah, I love black. Black and blue are my two favorite colors. That's why our logo for the church is blue with white. You don't really want black in a church logo. Our writing is white, but the background is blue, and our t-shirts are blue because that's my other favorite color. Black and blue are my favorite colors. That sounds weird. Black and blue. Okay. Gino and Tammy. Gino says, me, I would be a zebra because it's my wife's favorite animal. Okay. Tammy said she would be a bird because she always wanted to know what it feels like to fly. Well, that makes sense. All right. Harvey says he'd be a camel. It stores up his food and water for a long time. That's smart. I dig that. Darla, I would be an eagle. They're meat eaters and they can fly and they also love fish. Ooh, I have to change my mind here pretty quick. That sounds pretty good. Pat says a bear, just like my sister. Oh boy. All right. John says a lion. Who's going to argue with you? Plus the lady serves up the food. That's right. The female lions go out and actually do the hunting. All right. Very cool. All right, John, who's going to argue with you? I think you're right. Yeah. Who's going to? No one. All right. Deb, Marie said a dog because you would be loved. I said a bird so I wouldn't be stuck in a cage. Very cool. Lauren says, I'd have to say a dolphin. I've always loved movies that are under the sea. I think it would be cool to always see the coral and stuff. Plus, I think they say dolphins are intelligent, and so am I. Yeah, you're brilliant. And dolphins are super smart, too. I think they're like, I may be wrong. I'm not a zoologist, but I've heard that dolphins are like the smartest mammals, whatever you want to call them. Janelle says, I would be a hawk or a falcon or maybe an owl. Okay, cool. Tammy says, I would be a lightning bug just to cruise around on lazy summer evenings, making kids squeal with delight, chasing me when I flashed. Considering what I do for a living, maybe I should have picked a dung beetle. For those of you who don't know, she doesn't work in a poop factory. She's a home health care nurse, so she has to deal with messes sometimes. It's funny, dung beetle. All right, Judy, a lion sporting a beautiful mane and putting the fear into all the other animals. Very, very good. Frida says a giraffe. I would like being tall. That's kind of cool. I never even thought of that. Yeah, you can stick your neck. Yeah, you can see everything. Very cool. All right. So that was the fun question for the night. If you had to be an animal, what would you be and why? That was a fun one for the night. Okay. Now comes the last question that I'm going to give you tonight, and this will take the rest of our time because it goes into chapter 8. The very first part of chapter 8 says this. Okay, follow me here, guys. All right, the first part of chapter 8 says this. But God, look at this word, remembered Noah. That's a horrible English word for what this means, but that's fine. He remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. and the water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of 150 days, the water had gone down, and on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains, plural, of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. All right. The first part of that says that God remembered. He remembered Noah and his family and all the animals. Now, the reason why I personally say that that is a terrible English word to use is because the way that we use it does not, in any sense of the imagination, convey what the original Hebrew word zakar means. That's the word behind remembered, is zakar. And zakar does not mean what, when in English, what we think of is, oh my gosh, I completely forgot, but I just remembered I better shut the garage door, or I completely forgot, I just remembered I better pay the bills, or something like that. When we use the English word remember, it's because we forgot something. That's why I don't like that. I don't like that English word there. Let me show you something though, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But let me go back to this. Okay. Here's why I don't like it. Okay, see here, but God remembered Noah. Okay, so let's go to verse 1. This is basically every translation. God remembered. God remembered. Okay, so the NIV, God remembered. The New Living Translation, God remembered. The English Standard Version, the ESV, God remembered. The Berean Standard Bible, God remembered. The King James Bible, God remembered. The New King James Bible, God remembered. The New American Standard, God remembered. The NASB 1995 edition, God remembered. So on and so forth. You go all the way down here. The Amplified Bible, God remembered. The Holman Christian Standard, God remembered. Christian Standard Bible, God remembered. Here's what I don't like about that English word being used, because this word right here, the English word remembered, is actually, it's the Hebrew word zakar. Here's what it actually means. We read that and we think, unfortunately, oh, God forgot about Noah, but thank the Lord he remembered him. Woo, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, that you remembered to rescue Noah and get rid of the floodwaters. That's what we would think if we read it like that, because that's what it means in English. It means that you forgot something, so you remember, you recall it. Mental memory. That's not what it means in the Hebrew. Zakar means this. It means that you plan something, but you wait till the right time to act on that plan. So you never forget the plan. It's just not time to act on it yet. So you make the plan, then time passes, and you're fully aware that you made the plan. You never once forget. Time passes, time passes, time passes. And now it's the right time to put action to what you said. Now you actually do it. That's what zakar means in Hebrew. So God never forgot about Noah. He didn't remember because he forgot. Oh, good Lord, I forgot about Noah. No. But unfortunately, that's what people think when they read that. So again, God makes a plan to send a flood, and he's going to bring Noah through it. He never once forgets about Noah. Noah gets on the ark, floats around for basically almost a year, right? It's floating and floating and floating. God nowhere in here has forgotten that Noah is there. Nowhere has he forgotten. Instead, he goes, I needed that time for natural courses to take effect, for faith to be built for Noah and his family, for everything to die off that needed to die off. And now again, boom, now we're at the right time. Now I'm going to act on the plan that I put in place. God never once forgot. He just waited. And when the time was right, he acted on the process that he put in place. That's what zachar means in Hebrew. And we unfortunately translate that with God makes a plan, then a bunch of stuff happened, then God remembered and then did something. I guess you could say that, but it gives people the wrong idea. It makes people think that God forgot. He never forgot. So that leads me to my last question of the night. And that question is, let me see, I have it written over here on my phone. Give me just a second, guys. Okay, it tells me what you plan to do to go. Okay, here it is. Here is the question. Tell about something you plan to Took a while to act on it. Okay. Oh, I can't spell again. Boom. Get in a hurry and you can't spell. Here's the last question of the night. Sorry about the something with the 8 in it. That's the H's right next to the I, and I was moving fast. Tell about something that you planned to do, but it took a while to act on it. You planned to do something. I'm going to fix that word. Boom. Okay. But it took a while to act on it. Like, it's not that you forgot. It's not that you forgot and then you remember to act on it. It's that you made a plan. It's just not time for that plan to take effect yet. And now you act on it. Because what happens in the meantime, when you make a plan and then you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait till the right time, is in here it takes patience. And I've got some pictures I want to show you about patience, because by the time you make the plan and the time you put it into effect and you act on it, sometimes a long time takes place. And in the middle there, it takes patience. So I have a couple of pictures that will help you. Look at this. This takes patience. If you've ever had a child, you know what I'm talking about. It's not that you forgot you were pregnant. It's just not time to have the baby yet, right? So you make a plan to have a child. You do that and you become pregnant. You conceive. And it's not like you pop out the baby. You have to wait. You have to wait. And then the baby comes. See what I'm saying? And in the middle, there's this patience that happens. So that's what this is. Sometimes it takes patience. This is a 9-month process. How about this? I live in a place where there's ponds all over the place. And sometimes in the spring, you see turtles all over the place migrating around. And if they get in the way, you just have to wait. It takes patience. Here's another patience pick. There's a guy, kind of funny. I think he's waiting on his supper there, or dinner, wherever you're at in the United States, you call it dinner or supper. But he's waiting. It takes patience. This happens to us all the time. Road construction. It takes patience. You have to wait. You have to wait. How about this one? You're in the waiting room. This happens all the time. I know people that go to the emergency room. Penny did that a year or two ago for a sciatic nerve. We were down there for 6.5 hours in the waiting room before she got in to give her name and stuff before we go sit down again for a while before she got back to see somebody in the emergency room. I know somebody that went to the emergency room, I think last week or something, and they were in the emergency room. A woman in this group took her mother to the emergency room. You'd think that's fast. They were there for like 10 hours, 12 hours before she got in. It takes patience. Here's the last one. If you've ever done potty training with a child, sometimes potty training takes patience. So the question stands, what is something that you planned to do, but it took a while? Something you planned to do, but it took a while before you acted on it, right? You may have a plan like this. You know what? I'm going to move. I'm going to get out of this place and I'm going to go somewhere else. Well, that sounds great. But if you go right now, you have no job, you have no money, you have no support system, and you just make a fool of yourself and you wreck everything, and you would have been better off staying where you were. Sometimes you have to wait and plan and plot and plan and save money and buy things and set up a job and set up a support system and make sure that you actually can afford to move. And then eventually it happens because everything comes to culmination. It's not that you forgot. It's not like, I remembered, I'm moving. No, you goofball. You made a plan way back here. It just took a long time. I know people all the time. This happens to usually younger people. They're like, oh, I'm going to run off to LA. I'm from the West Coast, right? From Seattle. People go, I'm going to run off to LA. Dumbest thing I ever heard of. They'd be really young. They run off to Los Angeles because that's where you get a job in music or get a job in acting or get a job in, whatever. You're going to become a model. You're going to become a fashion designer. You're going to become an IT professional, whatever. And you run off and you're half cocked and you made the plan, but you don't have the patience. So you go and you fail. And pretty soon you would have been better off staying where you were because you had money, you got no support system, you got no job, and you're a bum. Happens all the time. People, now I'm in Chicago, people run off to other places like Nashville or like maybe Florida or Washington, D.C. or New York, God forbid. They run off to New York or the Big Apple. Everything will be better there. They find out it's no better than where you were. So anyway, tell about something that you plan to do, but there's a lot of patience involved before you act on it, because that's what God did with the flood. It's not that he forgot Noah. It just took a while for the flood to take effect and for it to do what he wanted it to do. All right. All right. Janelle, God doesn't forget. I got it. Yep, you're right. Brenda, after 9 months, I remembered to give birth. Thank the Lord. All right. Gino and Tammy. Gino says, marrying my wife. Gino says, I courted her for a long time. I wanted to do it right. I take being a Christian very seriously, and I'm very old-fashioned. That's cool, man. Very cool. George, we planned to buy a 41-foot luxury motor coach, but God made us wait 2 years before we could. God's plan was way better than ours. Yeah, dude, that thing is massive. I love your guys' coach with the big slide outs and stuff. That thing is sweet. I could live in that. Lauren, to write another post in my blog, which will most likely be tomorrow. Been planning it since last week. See, sometimes it takes a while, right? You got to percolate the ideas. You don't want to run out of the gate and fall down. Frank, taking the clothes out of the dryer. My man, Big Frank, at it again. I love when he says stuff like that. Taking the clothes out of the dryer. Tammy, becoming a prisoner volunteer. Oh yeah, that's right. With the prison system, the application took 2 years of waiting, over 2 years of waiting, but it finally happened 3 weeks ago. Woohoo! That's right. I'm cheering for you all the way on that one. Penny, planning to retire, and I'm still waiting. Oh, Lord. Well, considering where we're from, and our friend Nathan just bought a 1,200 square foot tiny little house for $700,000. Just tell your dad to sell his house and give you some of the money. You'll be all set. You can retire and do whatever you'd like. Wow. All right, Bruce. Took a while to decide to construct an office building. Yeah, Bruce has his own office. He's not only a podiatrist, which is a ankle and foot doctor, but he owns his own building too. It's a pretty cool setup. He has other doctors, and I think he's had dentists and chiropractor and all kinds of other people in that building before. They rent from him. So he has his own office in the building that he owns. That's pretty cool. Not a lot of doctors own their own facility. Very good. Faith. After our fourth daughter, we decided Grant to have a vasectomy. Okay. But didn't. Then our son was born 6 weeks later. Snip, snip. Yes, that's great. Oh my gosh, Grant, good for you. Yeah, hey, we should get T-shirts. We can be part of the club. Oh, by the way, this is my newest Bigfoot. Look at that. Whoa, yeah, my newest Bigfoot coffee cup. Isn't that cool? Got that in Seattle. Love it. All right. Okay. Yeah, snip, snip. Me too, buddy. I'll never forget how embarrassed I was. Let me tell you something. When I went in all those many, many years ago, 24 years ago or something like that, Grant, if you're watching, listen, I'm going to play a violin for my sad song here. When I went in there, you know what they do. They prep you and get you all ready to go. And first of all, they give you shots there to numb everything, and then they clean it all in. Anyway, that wasn't the bad part. The bad part was the doctor said, hey, we have an intern. Do you mind if they stand next to me to watch how this works? Because this is an intern. I'm thinking, all right, doc, whatever, get him in here. Wasn't a him, it was a her. It was this young girl, and I was like, oh, dear God, help me. I was so embarrassed. But anyway, there you go. That's my remembrance of that operation. Okay, Frida. It took a long time to go on the first date after my divorce. Yeah, I'm sure that was tough. But girl, you are a catch. You are beautiful. You are talented. You are smart. You're educated. So you're going to do just fine. Frogleg says, it took me a long time to decide to move from Memphis to Chicago because I didn't want to leave my friends and family. When I finally did, I found out that I had just as many here too. Yes, you do. We love you. Now I have them here, there, and everywhere. That's a Dr. Seuss book right there, my brother, my brother. Deb, renovating my daughter's room to a guest room. I'm still waiting. Man, here's the trick. When the kids move out, move in right now and change that room so they stay out. How about that? All right. Lauren, planning to get married, but I sort of need a boyfriend first. Well, listen, slow down, sweetheart. You always have plenty of suitors waiting. So take your time, pick the right one. Don't just pick one, pick the right one. You're a good girl. You're a very good girl. You're a Christian and you are a sweetheart and you are beautiful and you are brilliant. And guys line up to mess with you. You know that. They line up to be nice to you and they line up to whatever, to talk to you and everything else. Take your time. Don't just pick a guy, pick the right guy. And then let me meet him first. How about that? Okay. Very good. All right, guys. See, that wasn't so hard now, was it? Let's go back to the Bible. See, that's a whole remembering thing. All right. Back to sharing my screen. Let me get rid of this question. All right. Okay. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock with him on the ark. Then he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens have been closed, and the rain stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. And at the end of 150 days, the water had gone down. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains, plural, of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month. And on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days, Noah opened the window that he had made in the ark, and he sent out a raven. It kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water all over the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and he took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. And he waited 7 more days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. When the dove returned to him that evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days, sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. And then, notice he doesn't go. He could have got out any time, but he waits to hear from God. Then God said to Noah, come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring every kind of living creature that's with you, the birds and the animals, all the creatures that move in the ground, so they can multiply in the earth and be fruitful and increase in number upon it. So Noah came out together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, and all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground, all the birds, everything that moves on the land came out of the ark, one after the other. And we're almost done. Look at this. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. Taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. Now remember, guys, back 2 weeks ago when we had the first part of this story, Noah brought 2 of all of a male and female of all the unclean animals, but he brought 7 males, 7 of each of the clean animals, both male and female. Now he brought 7 of the clean animals, 1 to eat while he was on the voyage, and 2 to sacrifice once it was over. That's why you have 2 male and female of all these animals, but 7 of other animals. Because the 7s, if you go back to chapter 6, chapter 7, you'll see, wait a minute, there's 1 of each. So there's pairs of 2, but then there's a bunches of 7. The 7s were to eat and to sacrifice. Verse 21, the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, never again, this is a promise from God, you guys, never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. Never again will I destroy living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. God just promised to never again send a flood to destroy the earth. But we know that it will end in fire later. But he promised to never again send a flood to destroy the earth. All right, let's see where we're at. What's up, Judy Fash? It took a long time for me to get my hearing checked. My children asked for years to get it checked. Yeah, People ask me all the time, my hearing is so bad. I totally get that. I get that. So, guys, here's where we were tonight. Here's what we did. Remember our first question? Do you guys remember what our first question was? Hold on, let me really quick make sure I didn't miss anything, and I don't think I did. Yeah. I said the first question tonight was tell about something that you did because you felt like you had to, but it didn't make sense to other people. A lot of people had great answers for that. Remember, Noah built an ark and it made no sense to anybody, but he did it because God told him to. Second question was if you could be any animal in the world, what would you be and why? And you guys gave great answers to that. Lots of curious, fun answers. And the last question was this: tell about something that you planned to do, but it took you a while to act on it. Because remember, the Bible says in verse 1 of chapter 8, God remembered Noah. He never forgot. He just made a plan. Then he waited till the time was right. Then he acted on the plan. That's why he says that's, unfortunately, we use remembered there, but I would probably call it something else, but that's me. Anyway, many of you gave lots of great answers about things that you did, but you had to wait a while before you actually acted on it. And that's what that term zakar in Hebrew, when Elohim, Yahweh, when he zakar, he remembered Noach. It's Noach, when he remembered Noah. And all that means is that he made the plan for sending the flood, and he didn't forget. He knew every minute of the way, but when the time came, he acted on the plan that he had already made. That's all that means. So that's why I asked you those questions. So tonight, before we go any further, listen, I have something I want to throw out there for you really quick. We're doing a little project at the church. So some of you I've already contacted here, like my friend Frank LaRocco. He knows what I'm about to talk about. Just keep that between you and me, Big Frank. But I want to ask you, if you're watching tonight and you regularly watch, if you're a person that maybe you can't come to our church on a Sunday, but you still consider this to be either your church or Tuesday nights, and you watch our sermons from Sunday, if you consider that this is at least, if it's not your home church, at least it's a church that you're a part of. If you feel like that, if that's you, shoot me an email. I'm going to give you my email address because I want to contact you about something. Here's my email address. Don't text me. Don't hit me on here because I don't want to miss it. Oops, I can't even spell my own name. All right. This is my email address. Pastor Billy at the revolutionchurch.org. Okay. If you watch regularly Tuesday nights, if you watch our sermons regularly when I put them up on Sunday nights, maybe you don't watch it Sunday night, but you watch it during the week. So in other words, if you basically are part of this church, but just as a remote person, I'm not asking you to tithe. I'm not asking you to give. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just curious how many people would consider, yeah, this is part of my weekly worship. This is part of my weekly gathering together with other believers. If that's you, I'm asking you to shoot me an email, Pastor Billy at therevolutionchurch.org soon, like tonight or tomorrow, if you can get around to it. And if that's you, let me know. Because if you do, I want to contact you back. I have a question for you. Just a little project we're doing here at the church. I just have a question for you. I don't want anything from you. I want no money, nothing. I'm not asking you for anything. This isn't like, yay, a pyramid scheme. Nothing like that. But again, not if this is just like, once in a while you check in. But if you feel like, you know what, I got to be there Tuesday nights because I like the Bible study. Sometimes I can make Wednesday, sometimes I can't. But you know what? I'm trying to be there every Tuesday. And I usually try to watch at least some of the sermons that are posted, that we post. If that's you, shoot me an email right here. Pastor Billy at therevolutionchurch.org. Don't forget the little the there. Pastor Billy at therevolutionchurch.org. Just shoot me an email because I'm working on a little project here and I have a couple questions for you. So anyway, who made the ugly face here? Pat Baker. Look at angry face of Pat Baker. Oh, lots of nice. How funny is this? Lots of people clicked like. A couple of people clicked love. And then Pat Baker put an angry face. I don't know what she's angry about, but I love you, Pat, whether you like it or not. Okay. Where are we at? Hey, Veronica. Sorry I got on late. Thanks, Tammy. All right. I don't know what that is, but great. A couple other things came in. Janelle says, I plan to move home, but it's taking longer than I'd imagined. Hey, be careful. Take your time. You and John, do your thing. If you end up back on the island or back up in the Seattle area, good for you. It's very expensive. It's not like Missouri. Wow. It's crazy the prices there. All right. What's Brenda saying? We're still waiting on the VA to consider Harvey for service connected status. Yep. We'll be praying about that. Veronica, we always love to. We want to see you and your family back at church. Give Lewis a big hug for me, that handsome man of yours. We love you guys. I'm sorry about your sciatica. I'm dealing with a little bit of that right now. So is Penny. We both have sciatic issues. I have herniated discs, an L4 and L5 in my lower back. So all I do is if I twist just wrong in the gym, my legs and my hips, it's like on fire, my sciatic nerve for like a month. It sucks. Anyway. Tammy says, glad to see you, Veronica. Get well, girl. We miss you at church. That's right. Pat, oops, sorry. Oh, I don't care, Pat. I don't care if you put angry all day long. I love you. It's okay. I don't care about the angry face. It makes me laugh. Brenda says, sometimes it's easier to copy and paste. Pastor Billy at the revolutionchurch.org. There you go. Yeah. Copy and paste it. There. Do that. She just put it in the comments. So, guys, last time I'm going to say this. If you regularly attend online, like Tuesday nights, Wednesday when you can, I know it's during the middle of the day, or if you watch our Sunday sermons, shoot me an email right here because I have a little project I'm putting together, not me, that someone in our church is putting together. And we're just curious about how many like online sort of attenders that we have. I would be very curious to find out. We're putting some really cool stuff together. So if that's you, send me an email and let me know. And I'll follow up with you and let you know what we're doing and tell you how you can be involved. All right, very, very cool. All right, guys, before we sign off, and this is perfect timing, before we sign off, I want to pray with you. And then, as always, I have one more thing for you. So don't hang up. Why do I say hang up? This isn't a phone call. Don't log off just yet. Let's pray. Lord, thanks for tonight. Thank you, Lord, that you follow through on your plans. And sometimes we think you forgot about us, but you didn't forget. Thank you that everything happens in the time that you have ordained. So, Lord, help us to just be patient when we need to be patient. Like the picture of the mama's tummy that we saw, that 9 months of patience and waiting. Those other pictures that we saw that imply patience and waiting. And sometimes the time's just not right. We'll fall on our face. We don't have enough money. There's not enough support. There's not a way to live. Sometimes we want to jump and make things happen too quickly. And sometimes it feels like we waited forever. And sometimes we do wait forever. And then there's, sometimes you feel like Job, and sometimes you just don't know. So, Lord, give us patience and help us to always know that you have everything under control and you have not forgot about any of us, just like Noah, just like the animals on the ark. You hadn't forgotten any of it. It's just when the time was right, you acted on what you said. So thank you for this time tonight, Lord. Thank you for these great people in this group. And I just pray tonight that you would bless them. Lord, I pray that you would prosper them. Pray that you give them the desires of their hearts. And I pray that you bring peace to every household that is listening. If there's any type of stirring of anger, any type of resentment in any of the households that are watching, Lord, I pray against that now in the name of Jesus. And I ask for peace. Ask for the peace, as the word says, that passes all understanding, to guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. So thank you again for this time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys, as usual, before you log off, what's going on here? People are already saying goodbye. All right. Let's see what we got here. Veronica says, this is the first time I've ever dealt with sciatic. Yeah, it stinks. Appreciate all the help everyone has given to me and my family. I love my church family. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Yeah, guys, before you log off, jump over to the comment section. Say something kind to people before you jump off for tonight, and we go through these comments. Frank, God bless you. Oh, yeah, we love you, Frank. Penny, good night. Praying for everyone. Have an amazing Jesus-filled rest of the week. Very good, Brenda. Sciatic seems to be going around with a lot of us here. Ouch, very strange. I know. Yeah, it's weird. Pat, good night. God bless. I love you, Pat. Sorry, I missed it. Says Jessica was with my mom. Good night, everyone. Love you. Good to see you. Don't worry. You can always watch later. Glad that you showed up. John, amen. Once again, bless you all. That's right, big man. We got it. Lauren, good night, everyone. Have a great week. Deb, good night, everyone. Have a great week. Love it. Love it. Love all this. Faith and Grant, good night. Have a blessed week. We love all you guys. Free to have a blessed rest of the week. Love that. A lot of blessings going on. Brenda, good night, my friends. Love to you all. I love that. Judy says, praying for everyone. Blessed, healthy March. Yeah, no kidding. Wow. All right, you guys. I'll give you about another 30 seconds to jump over to the comment section. Just say good night to people. Say something kind. Say something. Janelle says, do too. I don't know what that means, but okay, John, thank you for sharing that. Darla says, good night. Very good. All right, we got about another 15 seconds before we call this thing tonight. All right, very good. Love you guys. Don't forget, tomorrow is Worship Wednesday, so I will have something around noon Central Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Tammy says, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. If you got bed bugs, we got a problem. All right, guys, don't forget, if you feel like this is a part of what you do every week, shoot me an email, pastorbilly@therevolutionchurch.org, and I will be following up with you to let you know what we can do. John says, all right, love you guys. Have a great, great night.